Spanish soccer star formerly accuses Luis Rubiales of sexual assault. Folks, this is Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalist and analyzing this news because this is important. This is showing where the agenda is going to. You see where the woke activists are putting pressure so as to change the way people think, so as to change entire societies. In case you're not familiar, this is the Spanish national female women's football team. Yes, it's called football, not soccer. All right. So if you play football, that's the sport. So the national Spanish team won the football World Cup, and they were celebrating. They were super happy. And this guy right here kissed this woman that happens to be attracted to other women, and they laughed and they joked about it, and then her friends in the locker room were joking about it, and she said, I didn't like it. Well, she laughed, and her friends were just making fun and just laughing and having a good time, mostly because the more important thing was that they had won. But of course, you cannot let this go to waste. The woke activists from United States, UK, and the Western English-speaking countries could not let this pass and put enough pressure so as to make sure that this was not left alone. Enough pressure so as to make this a scandal. And why is it that I say that this is coming from outside the country itself? Because kissing someone is the most common thing in Spain. Whenever you greet someone, you kiss that person not once, but twice. One on each cheek. That is the most normal thing in the world in Spain. It's the most normal thing in countries like Argentina as well. Man or woman, it's one peck, not even a peck, it's just touching the cheek with the other person. Oh, that's weird, that is gross, that's disgusting. Okay, that's perfectly fine. For you, in your own fucked up culture, you may think it's gross and disgusting and just too close and they want to give a handshake. That's okay. But you know what? Whenever I see anyone from the United States or anyone from UK criticizing the way those of us in other countries greet each other, I cannot avoid thinking, you know what? Take care of your own problems first. Sort out your own house, your own mess, because you people are the last ones to talk about anything regarding any kind of moral standards, all right? To have some blue-haired activists tell someone in Spain how they're supposed to greet one another, that's a little bit too much. To have someone from UK point fingers at people in Spain saying, oh, you just kiss one another. Well, you know what? You have an active pedophile in the royal family walking around, and you seem to be okay with that. You have worse rape index than India, and you're okay with that as well. So you're the last people that should be criticizing or telling others how they should behave, how they should be greeting one another. And if you allow this to fly, if you allow kissing someone being the equivalent of sexual assault, like they're trying to push now, you're destroying a culture. You're making sure you have to be ashamed of who you are as Spanish, as Latin Americans, as most countries in Europe, in case you're not familiar, all across Europe, Germany, Switzerland, in most countries in Europe, you have 1, 2, up to 3 kisses is the norm. This may surprise some people, but it's simply because of a lack of culture, of lack of understanding how it works in other places. And the same goes for a number of things that are considered to be obscene in one country and perfectly normal in the other. Going topless in the beach for women in Spain is the most normal thing in the world. And it's not some feminist activist doing it in the middle of New York during a protest. No, it's the kind of thing your grandmother used to do, and you still do it yourself because, again, it's normal, it's part of the culture. No one bats an eye. No one says anything to either a young, beautiful woman that goes topless on the beach. You just keep on walking. That's the way it goes. And if it's someone that is not as good looking, the same thing applies, right? That's just how the different cultures work. While at the same time, if you do that in the United States, in some parts, you end up in jail for indecency or whatever the hell it's called. But the idea of having people from other countries impose the moral standards that you should have in others, it's a little bit too much, okay? Now, in this specific case, it was a non-issue at all. I mean, we all saw it. They were celebrating. They were happy. The guy gave a peck on the lips to this woman, and she laughed, and it was not a big deal. It was only a big deal when this started mounting up in pressure. When the CNNs, when the Guardians, when all of the I don't even want to say Western, because this is not the West. This is just very specific countries of the West with a very specific woke agenda that is being imposed on the rest of us. And unfortunately, some of us are happy to comply. And you have more than enough left-wing activists within Spain so as to try to make this a big deal. Fortunately enough, I can say that even in some of these left-wing media outlets from Spain, like El Mundo, the comments are overwhelming against this insanity. They say that the same government that is now pushing to have this man accused, this man charged with sexual aggression, these are the same people that with their equality laws manage to release actual rapists, and they don't bat an eye on doing that. These are the same people that are negotiating with terrorists and murderers so as to form their own governments. So the idea of them having such a moral high ground so as to make a sexual aggression something that is a norm of human interaction within the entire country, within an entire segment of the planet, in several countries, not just this. It's numerous countries where greeting someone with a peck on the cheek is the most normal thing in the world. And if it's a sexual aggression to give someone a peck on the cheek, then what's the difference between that and one on the lips? It is just a matter of an inch. It actually happens very often when you greet someone in a hurry. Yeah, that's it at the most, right? And you don't make a big deal because you are a little bit above that. You're not so sensitive. Your skin is not that thin. You're not a green-haired lunatic activist in Manhattan that you have to write an article about being raped when someone gave you a kiss, right? You're a little bit on a different level, fortunately enough, but they want to drag us down to it. They want to make this sexual aggression, which is insane. It's a fucking kiss in the lips during a celebration, and apparently based on numerous accounts, it was the norm. They did it all the time. Why? Because this woman, she's a lesbian, and she considered this guy to be pretty much one of the guys or one of the girls, whatever the hell you want to call it, but this was apparently normal behavior. It was only when the outcry in the international media was heard all over the world that this started to become something
Tonight,
else.
Spanish soccer star Jenny Hermoso formally accusing her nation's federation chief, Luis Rubiales, of sexual assault for kissing her on the lips following Spain's Women's World Cup win. Spanish authorities say Hermoso is now pressing charges over that contract. Spanish authorities say following Spain's.
This is royal, like the princess or infant or whatever, so Princess Sofia, 16, 17-year-old, and you know what? Yeah, it's peck on the cheek on each one. That's how you say. That's how you greet someone, and that's how long will that be until that is also wrong, right? When this normal behavior, right, the difference between this and this in the middle of a celebration, this gets you sexual assault charges, right? And how long will it be? So, we cannot even, greet one another anymore. You cannot touch anyone. That's sexual assault. Well, that may be in your country. Don't bring your shit to ours. We're okay. Of all the problems we have, that is not one of them. This paranoia you want to impose on the rest of us, we don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need that in terms of women being able to go topless to the beach or not, and people considering it the most normal thing in the world. We don't need to cover our babies when they're breastfeeding with a blanket as if they're fucking monsters because someone gets upset over a side boob. Oh, it's breastfeeding in public. Yeah, that's the kind of shit you deal with. It's not normal in the rest of the world, at least not in many parts of the world, but that's the kind of crap they want to impose. Lack of human interaction, lack of human contact. The idea of being the more isolated, the more alone you are, the more miserable you are, that's the high ground these people want to impose. The same people that are okay with murdering unborn children, the same people that are okay with mutilating infant children in the altar of wokeness and transgenderism and the left and the cultural Marxists, they die to impose. Yeah, Thank you, but no thanks, okay? See you next time, guys. Take care.